As a result of their attractiveness, Eastern women in North America often develop a sense of superiority over North American women who were born and raised here. This shift in attitude isn't just a fleeting impression. It's a complex phenomenon rooted in a blend of cultural dynamics, personal experiences, and the way they're received in their new environment. They may become snobbish when they arrive, possibly due to the overwhelming attention they garner from both men and women alike, or perhaps because of the deep-seated cultural pride they carry from their homelands, where heritage, tradition, and aesthetics are often celebrated with fervor. For many of these women, their beauty isn't merely a physical trait. It's a currency forged in societies that place immense value on outward presentation, giving them an edge they're keenly aware of when they step onto Western soil. Men, in particular, can easily identify the difference in appearance between Eastern European women and other gorgeous women, a distinction that goes beyond superficial looks. Eastern Europeans often hail from regions where beauty standards are not just high but fiercely competitive. Think of places like Ukraine, Poland, or Russia, where the streets seem to brim with striking features, elegant postures, and an almost effortless grace. In these environments, they are simply one stunning lady among many, surrounded by a population where grooming, fashion, and physical upkeep are treated as art forms rather than optional extras. This exposure to a culture of widespread attractiveness might sharpen their sense of style and presentation, setting them apart in Western settings where casual comfort often reigns supreme over meticulous elegance. Moreover, this difference isn't just about what they wear or how they carry themselves. It's about the confidence that comes from knowing they've thrived in a world that demands perfection. In their home countries, beauty can be a survival tool, a way to stand out in economically challenging or socially rigid landscapes. When they arrive in North America, they bring with them not just their looks but a mindset honed by years of navigating such high-stakes environments. This can manifest as a subtle air of superiority, as if they've already won a contest North American women didn't even know they were competing in. The contrast is stark. Where Western women might lean on individuality or personality to shine, Eastern women often arrive with a polished exterior that commands immediate notice, whether it's the way they accentuate their features with makeup or the poised way they walk into a room. This phenomenon isn't lost on observers either. North American men, and sometimes women, often remark on the exotic allure of Eastern women, a term that, while cliched, points to a real cultural fascination. Their accents, their mannerisms, even the stories they tell of far-off places add layers to their appeal, making them seem like imports from a more glamorous world. Meanwhile, the local women, raised in a culture that increasingly prizes authenticity over artifice, might feel overshadowed or even judged by these newcomers who seem to effortlessly embody a kind of femininity that feels both timeless and unattainable. It's not just about beauty. It's about the narrative that beauty carries, one that Eastern women wield with a mix of pride, awareness, and at times, a touch of disdain for those who don't play the game by the same rules. Many advantages are available to Eastern European women as well. For instance, their distinct accents, multilingual abilities, and exotic appeal can make them stand out in social and professional circles. Men from the West are more easily manipulated and often more beautiful than the locals, making these women more valuable in the marketplace. These men also tend to be more gullible due to their wealth, perhaps because they're less accustomed to the cunning survival tactics that emerge in less affluent regions. Meanwhile, men from the East have a harder time finding wives when they move to the West. This means that if you're a handsome man from Greece, you should consider moving to the West, where your looks might give you an edge, though cultural adaptation could still pose a challenge. When men from the East move to the West, they often bring with them the advantage of earning more money. However, that advantage is quickly erased when compared to men who were born here and either inherited family wealth or simply fit in better socially, making it much easier for them to obtain better jobs and careers. Western societies often reward familiarity and insider networks, which can leave Eastern men struggling to catch up despite their work ethic. The only advantage for Eastern men is earning more money initially, but their main disadvantage is finding women of poor quality, meaning partners who may not align with their cultural expectations or values, which is why nationalism is often strong. It becomes a way to preserve identity in a foreign land. The disadvantages of living in small towns for Eastern men in the West are that they are constantly watched by their ethnic community. But this is actually an advantage for Eastern women, as their wives often meet anonymous men in big cities, free from the scrutiny of tight-knit rural enclaves. Eastern men must also be on their best behavior because someone in their community is always watching. Yet this dynamic flips for Eastern women, who can leverage the freedom of urban anonymity to explore relationships outside traditional boundaries. Because Eastern women come from poorer countries and spend more time polishing their pipes, a metaphor for refining their appearance and charm, they pose a greater threat than Western women, who may rely more on natural confidence or societal privilege. I completely agree with Pergamos Claus's observation that Muslim women project an ethereal image of angelic women and are better at concealing their cards. It does appear to be the same with other Eastern women, who often master the art of subtlety and mystique, honed by cultural norms that reward discretion. You also mentioned that someone had commented that Eastern men from India and Pakistan are cowards, and I found this observation a little odd. Pakistani and Indian ladies are often mistaken for Poles or other Eastern Europeans by Westerners due to shared features like dark hair and expressive eyes. But the men's perceived timidity might stem from cultural differences in assertiveness rather than cowardice. Bulgaria, Serbia, and Russia all share the same mentality that they're superior to Canadian and American women because they speak another language, are better looking, and come from places with actual culture and cuisine. This belief might be reinforced by the rich histories and traditions of their homelands, which contrast with the perceived homogeneity of North American suburban life. So why do I believe that most Western women no longer put much care into their appearance? Because they have access to better-looking guys and men who earn more money, reducing the pressure to compete through looks alone. Confidence and status often outweigh traditional beauty in their social toolkit. Caitlin just got back to me, so here's what she had to say. The video response shocked him, and he ended up calling me at 6:00 a.m. the next morning all about it. I had to admit to him what I had been up to. I already knew that my boyfriend had no plans to get married and was withdrawing from things to do what he wants for himself. But I had no idea that I was part of the cult of heartbroken men who were talking daily about normal female behavior, just so he could get confirmation to leave everything behind. There is no way I want to get married, but if it's true that half of all marriages end in divorce, then I don't want to get married either. I still want to be his partner and have them visit me whenever they can because there is no part of me that wants my boyfriend to go through any difficulties in life. I truly love him, and if this is helping him, then I will continue to do so. The irony is that your boyfriend only learned about your internet snooping, but at least you have the courage to admit it in front of thousands of people. Your boyfriend also tells you to find someone else who will support you because that's what true love is all about. Putting your happiness first, even if it hurts them emotionally. The best advice I can give your partner, if he's paying attention, is to understand how women constantly shift their priorities. However, you'll wake up in a few years to find that she's blocked all of your internet access and is keeping track of everything you do on the phone and computer as if you were 5 years old. This kind of control can emerge when trust erodes, a pattern seen in many relationships regardless of cultural background. Just so you know, in order for men to better understand women, they need to learn from each other and mentor each other about the hazards of female behavior, just as many women teach their friends and BFFs about how to cope with men. This isn't a one-sided game. It's a mutual education that's been going on for generations, often hidden in plain sight. Men might gather over beers or in online forums, swapping stories about the subtle cues they've missed or the unexpected shifts in a partner's mood, piecing together a collective wisdom that helps them navigate the unpredictable terrain of relationships. It's a kind of informal brotherhood, where the stakes are high and the lessons are hard-won, often passed down from the guy who's been burned one too many times to the one who's just stepping into the fray. On the flip side, women have their own parallel system, and it's just as intricate. On a girls' night out, it's common for women to share tips and tricks on how to manipulate men. Strategies like playing hard to get, amplifying their charm to secure attention, or dropping perfectly timed hints to steer a conversation. These aren't just idle chats over cocktails. They're masterclasses in influence, refined through years of observing what works and what doesn't. One woman might recount how a well-placed pause in a text thread kept a guy on edge, while another might reveal how a carefully curated Instagram post sparked just the right amount of jealousy. It's a blend of psychology and performance, handed down from the veterans of heartbreak to the newcomers eager to avoid the same pitfalls. This exchange of tactics mirrors how men might dissect relationship dynamics in their own circles, highlighting a universal dance of power and perception between genders. Both sides are playing the same game, just with different playbooks. One written in the language of emotional nuance, the other in the blunt shorthand of trial and error. For men, it might be about decoding why a woman suddenly goes cold after weeks of warmth, or recognizing when "I'm fine" means anything but. For women, it's often about knowing when to lean into vulnerability, or when to pull back and let silence do the heavy lifting. Each gender builds its own lore, a mix of cautionary tales and cunning strategies, all aimed at gaining the upper hand, or at least surviving the encounter with dignity intact. But here's the kicker. This isn't just about manipulation or control. It's about understanding too. Beneath the sly maneuvers and calculated moves lies a deeper truth. Men and women are perpetually trying to figure each other out, bridging a gap that's as old as humanity itself. The tips shared on a girls' night out, or the advice swapped in a locker room, aren't just power plays. They're attempts to make sense of the chaos, to find patterns in the unpredictable. Women might laugh about how easily men fall for a compliment, while men might groan about how women seem to rewrite the rules mid-game. But in both cases, there's a grudging respect for the other's complexity. This back and forth doesn't end, it evolves. As societies shift and gender roles blur, the lessons adapt too. What worked for a man in the 1950s might flop today, just as a woman's coy tactics from decades past might feel outdated in an age of directness. Yet the core remains, a push and pull, a give and take, where each side learns just enough to keep the dance going. And maybe that's the point, not to win, but to keep moving, to keep talking, to keep peeling back the layers of what makes the other tick. So next time you overhear a group of guys dissecting a breakup or catch a snippet of wine-fueled wisdom at a bachelorette party, remember, it's all part of the same sprawling, messy, endlessly fascinating conversation. One that's less about conquest and more about connection, even if neither side fully admits it.